Hello, America, and to our friends around the world. Sorry about that. To our friends around the world, greetings and welcome back. This is part 3 of Chapter 5, What Everybody is Saying, an ex-FBI agent's guide to speed reading people. Again, this is part 3, using arm cues to assess for mood or feelings. If you establish an adequate baseline by observing a specific individual's arm behaviors over a period of time, you can detect how he is feeling by his arm movements. For instance, arm movements can let you know how someone is feeling upon returning home from work after a tough day, or when feeling dejected or sad. The arms will be low at the person's side, shoulders drooping, arm. Armed with this understanding, you can comfort the person and help him or her recover from a hard day. In contrast, watch people being reunited after a long absence. I'll spare you my karaoke, what was it, lyrics of "It Feels So Good." So yeah, people being reunited after a long absence. They hold their own open arms. Oh, They hold their open arm. Wow, it's not even 11 o'clock. All right, it's almost 10. That's why. They hold their open arms straight out. Remember gravity defying? The meaning is clear. Come here, I want to hold you. Yeah, anyway, I'll let your imagination go on that. This beautiful sight is reminiscent of when our own parents warmly reached out to us and we responded in kind. Our arms reach out, defying gravity and opening up our entire body because our feelings are so genuinely positive. In a previous video, we talked about the woman who would pull the satchel in tight to her torso, guard it. This is the opposite. This is arms open. What was it? Creed, with arms wide open, or whatever that song was, with his constant desires to associate himself with being a modern Jesus image or something silly. Anyway, um, when your torso is unguarded, that is your most vulnerable, most exposed, in common 2025, modern history. Essentially, genital exposure is that equivalent. But yeah, because of clothing and because of openness and hugs and whatnot, do recognize with your arms open to exposing your chest and your belly, that makes you vulnerable, both physically to attack, physiologically, and emotionally. All right, let's see. What happens with our arm movements when we don't really feel positive emotions? Years ago, when my daughter was young, we were attending a family get together, and as a relative approached me, rather than holding my arms straight out, they were only outstretched from the elbows, with my upper arms close at my side. We should know by now what this is indicating. Interestingly, my daughter likewise adjusted her arms when this relative reached out to hug her. Subconsciously, I had transmitted that this person was welcome, but that I was not extremely excited to see her. It's the guarded position that he was demonstrating. My daughter responded in kind, later telling me that she did not like this relative either. Whether my daughter's feelings were original or whether she had picked up on my sentiments toward this relative, we had both subconsciously demonstrated with our less than stretched out arms how we really felt. Be aware of this, of what it is that you are signaling out to others, because others may be as trained, as skilled, or better as you are becoming. So become aware of what it is you are broadcasting also, and be aware of what signals that people may be picking up on. Arm behaviors also help to communicate such everyday messages as hello, so long, come here, I don't know, over there, down here, up there, stop, go back, get out of my sight, and I can't believe what just happened. Many of these gestures could be understood anywhere in the world and often are employed to overcome language barriers. There are also numerous obscene gestures. I jokingly referred to that in, I believe, part one of chapter five. There are also numerous obscene gestures that involve the arms, some specific to a given culture, and others that are universally understood. Subchapter topic: arm cues that isolate. Certain arm behaviors relay the message, "Don't come close to me! Don't touch!" Oh my gosh. That brings that image, that stupid nurses in Sweden. Don't touch me there. That's my no-no square. Oh my god. History is not going to look fondly on this 2010, 2015 to our present as being, wow, they let the inmates run the asylum. I mean, seriously. I mean, we've joked about it in the past, but yeah, that's now. All right, so for instance, watch some university professors, doctors, or lawyers as they walk down a hallway, or for that matter, look at the Queen of England and or her husband, Prince Philip. Yeah, they're getting a lot of exposure in a negative way. I mean, she's uh, been gone a few years, but her son, Prince Andrew, is definitely getting a lot of attention for his Epstein connections going on right now over the last 20 years. When people place their arms behind their backs, first they are saying, "I am of higher status." Second, they are transmitting, "Please don't come near me. I am not to be touched." This behavior is often misunderstood as merely a pensive or thinking pose, but unless seen in someone studying a painting at a museum, for example, it is not. Putting the arms behind the back is a clear signal that means, "Don't get close. I don't want to make contact with you." And here we have figure 3-9, sometimes called the regal stance. You know, regal, regis, Latin, king, rex, king. You know, regiment, um, registration. They're all, you know, all the same root word. So sometimes called the regal stance, arms behind the back mean don't draw near. You see royalty using this behavior to keep people at a distance. All right. Adults can convey this message to each other and to children. Even pets are sensitive to segregating gestures of the arms. Imagine how isolating it must be for a child growing up in a household where each time he yearns to be held, his mother withdraws her arms behind her back. Such nonverbal messages unfortunately have lasting effects on a youngster and, all too often, like other forms of neglect and abuse, are later imitated and transmitted to the next generation. Humans dislike it when we feel unworthy of being touched. When a couple walks together and one of the other's arms are behind the back, they are restraining themselves. Obviously, closeness or intimacy is not reflected by this behavior. Note how you feel when you extend your arm to shake someone's hand and he does not respond. When we reach out for physical contact and it is not reciprocated, we feel rejected and dejected. Long ago, if you watched the Buffy the Vampire series or Vampire Slayer television series, when she had, after graduating high school, after going through that whole ordeal, getting the whole little high school hero trophy thingy that the class gave her, she goes to college, and her best friend is like, "Woohoo! I'm doing great in college. I'm getting good grades and I'm making friends." But Buffy's like, "I'm the outsider." And there's that scene where somebody waves at her or waves towards her, and she waves back, and then she realizes they weren't waving at her and they were waving at somebody behind her. Yeah, everybody's been there. That's essentially the same feeling with the handshake. Um, it's a social faux pas. You know, it's something that you don't do. You you're only doing that either because you're ignorant, uncouth, or you're attempting to assert dominance by belligerence. And maybe there is some issue that you just don't get the whole handshake thing, but we're presuming most everybody's a human being. I mean, even dogs know how to shake. So, and some cats. All right, so let's see. When we reach out for physical contact and is not reciprocated, we feel rejected and dejected. There is ample scientific research that suggests that touch is very important for the well being of humans. Health, mood, mental development, and even longevity are said to be influenced by how much physical contact we have with others and how often positive touching takes place. Knapp and Hall, 2002, pages 290 through 301. We have all read about studies where merely stroking a dog lowers a person's heart rate and serves as a calming agent. Uh, Petting a cat too, and that the purring, you know, it helps them. And I've heard places that uh, even a cat's purring, your individual body picks up on it and resonates with it. So there's benefits to that from what I've been told. So keep those things in mind. Petting a dog, playing with a dog, playing with the cat, petting a cat, and benefiting from the cat's purring. Perhaps this is true because pets are typically so unconditional in their affections that we never have to worry about reciprocation. There's that old story. The only things that get unconditional love are children and women, children, and pets. And for a man to get unconditional love, it's for a short time from their mother and from any domestic animal they have, unless they have cats. Then you realize quickly that you're just their manservant. But, I digress. That's more of a joke than an observation. Or, well, I guess it's both. As a species, we have learned to use touch as a barometer of how we feel. We reach toward the things we really like and hold unpleasant things at arm's length. Notice that both of them are at arm's length. You're reaching out, and fully extending your arm to reach out, and you're pushing away, fully extended arm out. So depending on how that arm display is transmitted, is going to tell somebody whether you're in wanting and desiring of an object or you are repulsed and disgusted by an object. Let's see. Here we go. If you hand someone a dirty diaper for disposal, notice how the immediate reaction is to grasp it with as few fingers as possible and hold the arm away from the body. No one receives training in this, yet we all do it because the limbic brain limits contact with objects that are disagreeable, unhealthy, or dangerous to us. If you read Dr. Paul Ekman's studies of microexpressions, they talk about a tribe in New Guinea and what happens when you don't do that. Anyway, it's very macabre, very morbid, very disturbing. So let's move on. This arm distancing phenomenon occurs not only when we encounter objects we don't like, but also when we are around people who we don't enjoy. Our arms will act as either barriers or blocking mechanisms, like a running back stiff arming a would be tackler. If you're old enough, you remember the old Fred Flintstone or the Flintstones, and they would watch their Stone Age version of football, and it would always be the man with his arm fully outstretched in front of him, holding the ball, running downfield to try to make the touchdown. And of course, as a kid, like 10, 8, you're quickly told that is not how you play football. You don't run with your arm straight out in front of you. Anyway, as you get older, you realize why you don't do that. You see people that do that, and they end up getting their arms twisted or even broken. So let's go back to the book. Our arms will act as either barriers or blocking mechanisms, like a running back stiff arming a would-be tackler. I'm pretty sure you get they get a flag on the play for stuff like that, if I remember right. It's been years since I played, and I don't watch sports too much anymore. To protect and or distance us from threats or anything we deem negative in our environment. You can learn a lot about how a person feels about someone or something by noting whether the arm either engages or distances from the individual or object in question. Watch people at the airport or on a packed sidewalk and notice how they use their arms to protect themselves or to block others from getting too close as they make their way through the crowd. Then note how people with whom you interact greet you in a social or business situations. I think you'll start to see that the saying, keeping someone at arm's length, has real meaning and practical consequences. We've all most likely experienced this at train stations. In fact, in the military, they advised us as we were nearing the end of basic military training, nearing graduation, to be on guard at bus stations, train stations, airports, because military recruits are very identifiable because of their polished uniforms, their close cropped haircuts, and their youthful appearance. And what con artists see is a mark. So they advise them, keep yourself tight and inconspicuous. On the flip side, whenever I would come back and a girlfriend would pick me up, or vice versa, the over affectionate, you know, invading the personal space and practically, uh, an upright, constant invading my space, hugging thing going on. And at the time, it was all right. It was great to be appreciated. In hindsight, it's kind of like, oh, it's bringing back cringy feelings. Anyway, uh, don't mind my dark humor. All right, so let's see. Next sub-chapter topic, territorial displays of the arms. In addition to using our arms to protect us or keep people away, they can also be used to mark territory. In fact, as I am writing this paragraph, I am on an Air Canada flight to Calgary. And my very large seat neighbor and I have been jockeying for armrest territory nearly the entire flight. At the moment, I seem to be losing. I have a small corner of the armrest, but he dominates the rest, and therefore my whole left side. All I can do is lean toward the window. I did that. Fortunately, I stayed up all night, so I took my window seat, took the airplane pillow, and conked out, and I woke up in time to see us coming into that nightmarish Denver airport. So, uh, yeah. I prefer to fly, as in me being the pilot versus being the passenger. I hate all the hoops and nonsense. I like being able to just go, do the pre-flight, pull it out, you know, do the inspection, fire it up, take off. Even if it's going to take me 14 times longer to get there, I would rather fly myself than deal with all that nonsense. All right. All I can do is lean toward the window. Eventually, I decided to give up trying to carve out any additional territory, so he won and I lost. But at least I salvaged an example for this book from his territorial display. In my situation, I had two middle aged women, one in the center, one in the aisle, and I hugged the wall as much as I could because I didn't want my snoring nor my presence to invade their space. Fortunately, I just slept right through it. All right. But at least a salvaged example for this book from his territorial display. Incidents like this happen to all of us every day in elevators, doorways, or classrooms. In the end, if there is no accommodation or compromise, someone ends up being the loser. And no one likes to feel that way. You'll also see territorial displays in boardrooms or meeting rooms where one person will spread his material about and use his elbows to dominate a considerable piece of the conference table at the expense of others. Think back to high school. Was there that one student, or were you that student, that would take an entire table and spread out all of their books, notebooks, and backpack and everything else across the entire table, making it difficult for other people to come in and invade? Yeah, that's the same concept. All right. According to Edward Hall, territory in essence is power. Hall, 1969, Knapp and Hall, 2002, 158 through 164, 158 through 164. Claiming territory can have very powerful and negative consequences, both short-lived and long-term, and the resulting battles can range from small to great. Territorial disputes encompass everything from a turf issue on a crowded subway to the war fought between Argentina and Britain over the Falkland Islands. Knapp and Hall, 2002, 157 through 159. Now, here I sit months after the flight to Calgary, and as I edit this chapter, I can still sense the discomfort I felt when my seatmate hogged the armrest. Clearly, territorial displays are significant to us, and our arms help assert our dominance to others with whom we overlap in space. Notice how confident or high status individuals will claim more territory with their arms than less confident. Lower class, with their arms than less confident, lower status persons. A dominant man, for example, may drape his arm around a chair to let everyone know that this is his domain, or on a first date, might confidently throw an arm over a woman's shoulder as though she were his property. Further, with regard to table manners, be aware that higher status individuals will usually claim as much territory as possible immediately upon sitting down, spreading their arms or their objects, briefcase, purse, papers on the table. If you are new to an organization, watch for those individuals who either use their personal material, notebooks, calendars, or their arms to claim a larger piece of real estate than most. Even at the conference table, real estate is equated with power and status, so be observant for this nonverbal behavior and use it to assess an individual's real or perceived status. Alternatively, the person who sits at the conference table with his elbows against his waist and arms draped between his legs sends a message of weakness and low confidence. All right, box insert 30. Box insert 30. A pet peeve. Animal trainers tell me that dogs can't stand it when humans withdraw their gaze and their arms. In essence, our behavior is telling the dog, I will not touch you. If you own a dog, try this experiment. Stand in front of your pet with your outstretched arms and hands in front of you, but not touching him. Then withdraw your arms behind your back and watch what happens. I think you'll discover the dog will react negatively. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a big fan of hugging children and being affectionate with your pets um, because children need that in order to be healthy adults, and animals have very short lifespans in comparison to us typically. And if they're going to be in my home, I want to make it the best, most pleasant experience as possible for them. All right, that leaves us with the end of part 3, and we're going to pick up with territorial displays of the arms.